Hello interwebs, my name is Shanna and I just recently moved to Japan. This is where, if I knew anything about editing, we would have a fun little intro video, but since I don't, there's no intro video. Yay! So I should have been making these video diaries for quite some time. But as things happen, they happened a lot faster than I expected. And every day I kept telling myself, oh, you have time, and you really don't. So I moved to the Shiga Prefecture about a month ago, and it's been interesting to say the least. So previously, I worked as a hairstylist at a salon, and it isn't necessarily that I didn't love what I did, because I did, especially when I had the opportunity to do editorial work and special event hair and makeup, but I didn't feel fulfilled in what I was doing. I've always wanted to travel, I've always wanted to see the world, and I didn't feel like I was getting that opportunity living in one area, going to the same salon every day, doing the same job every day. So I needed a change. And I decided that I was going to move to Japan for at least a year to teach English. And the way that I did that was through getting my TEFL certification through the International TEFL Academy. So I didn't have an exact plan for when I would be here. I was just kind of like, oh, whenever I get hired, I'll start, planning. And I thought I was being proactive by selling my car, and I posted on Craigslist thinking, oh, my car, it's gonna take a little bit to sell, it's gonna take a little bit, and it took a whole 2 hours. So luckily my dad was out of town and he let me borrow his truck. And then, of course, I rear-ended somebody and no longer had transportation. So I very quickly had to gather my things, and I left for Arizona, where I stayed with my grandparents and spent a lot of quality time with them, visited my uncle, had such an amazing time, helped them pack some because they are planning on moving, and kind of had a little bit of a break before I shipped off to Japan. When I got here, I arrived in Osaka, and I made my way out of the airport and tried to find the taxis, which I wandered around for probably 15 minutes trying to figure out how and where to get a taxi. I caught the taxi to Kyoto, where I spent one night, took the bus from my hotel to the train station, where I proceeded to look like a complete imbecile carrying around my giant luggage bags and my carry-on bag and this bag that was my purse, and I couldn't figure out how to get a ticket to get on the train or which train I even needed to be on. I'd never taken a train before, so I stood around looking like an idiot for a little bit, and then I made my way over to one of the windows and asked the lady, I was like, what train do I get on to get to Hikone? And she was like, looking at me confused, and I don't speak Japanese, so I was like, oh god, what do I do? And I brought up the email that I had screenshot, and I held it up. I was like, here. And she was like, oh, Hikone, blah, 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 told me what train to get on. Well, then I couldn't figure out how to get the ticket still. And so I stood by the machines going, crap, what do I do? finally this lady walked by who looked like she was some sort of Western, and I was like, hey, do you speak English? And she said, yeah, what's wrong? And I was like, oh, well, you know, I don't know how to get a ticket. And so she showed me, and then she showed me how to put my little ticket into the machine and walked through. And so then I'm trying to find my way, and I eventually get to the stairs. And so then I'm like, well, how do I get all my stuff down the stairs? So luckily, another Western person stopped and asked me if they could help me, and they helped me carry my stuff down the stairs. Little did I know there was an elevator right around the corner. But I get down the stairs and caught the next train to Hikone. I was really lucky because when I got there, I was trying to figure out which gate I needed to go to meet Victor. And there was another girl there who saw me with my luggage, and she had her luggage, and she was brave enough to approach me and say, hey, are you working for Nova too? And I was like, yes. And she said, oh, okay, I'm meeting Hasegawa-san. And I was like, I'm supposed to meet somebody named Victor. And so then we kind of laughed, and I stood there waiting with her until Victor showed up. We went and signed our stuff for our apartments, and we got to my apartment, and there was no power, and there was supposed to be, and we were all confused. We couldn't figure out how to get the power on, and they had to go because they were supposed to meet another girl who was arriving the same day. So it was just kind of a little bit of a clusterfuck, and the gas guy came to turn the gas on, and he saw that I didn't have power, so he tried to help me, and he couldn't get it to work. So then I just sat around my apartment waiting for a few hours until finally the power came on, and I decided to make my way to Viva City and see if I could borrow a phone so I could call to get my internet set up, because something was wrong and somebody didn't reset something, so they couldn't give me the username and password to be able to turn my internet on. So that ended up being a whole nother story in itself. But my first day here was a little crazy, and I couldn't get my internet, I didn't have power, then I waited forever for my futon, and when the futon came, I realized it was about this thin, and sleeping on that thing was not going to be the most comfortable, but I've made it work. So that was my first day here, and it was fine. The next couple days, I met up with the girl, April, who I met at the train station. We did a little bit of shopping, and she helped me buy a bike, which I wouldn't have been able to do without her, because you have to register it, and I don't speak Japanese. She's been incredibly helpful, and I'm really thankful for her. So then she and I went to Osaka for training, where we met another girl, Chris, who was going to be working in the same area as us, which was really exciting. So I made 2 new friends in less than the first week. Osaka was a little crazy, not because of work or the training, but because everything was booked really last minute, and because I arrived at sort of the end of cherry blossom season, all the hotels were booked. So I ended up getting a love hotel. So far, the only really exciting thing that I've done is take a trip to Kyoto with Mayuko, who is a really, really lovely Japanese girl who works the front desk at one of my school locations. We went to Fushimi Inari, and we climbed all the way to the top of the mountain, and it was just absolutely beautiful and incredible. And the stairs were pretty killer, I'm not gonna lie, but it was totally worth it. She also took me to Kiyomizu-dera, which is a temple, and we happened across another temple while we were trying to find the bus. And both of those places were amazing as well. So, I got my first care package thanks to Miss Amanda Lanham. Woo! Alright, so I'm gonna open it. I think I might need to get some scissors because she kind of taped this thing real well. Oh, there's a letter on top. Oh, look at the paper! That is the best. I freaking love the paper. Alright, let's see what all is in here. Thank you so much, Amanda. I love everything, and I will definitely be putting those snacks to use. So, because I'm a slacker, and I don't post updates as regularly as I should, please feel free to follow my Instagram at @theshannalee or my Snapchat at Shannalee13 for more regular updates on Japan and what I'm doing and what I'm seeing and what I'm eating and all that jazz. And if you have any suggestions or questions or anything, please feel free to leave them in the comments or shoot me a message or whatever you feel like doing. And thank you all so much for watching. Thank you. Bye. But seriously, I'm gonna tear into these snacks. I cannot wait.